see the comments. Hey, a special guest, but you can't see her. But have Robin here. Before we jump right in, because I'm not gonna take too long with myself. I know you guys here try to learn about the truck and try to figure out a way to build yourself some wealth. Number one, I want to appreciate all you guys for asking questions in the group, and coming into the group, using the group as a resource. That's what it's meant for, to help you grow on your journey to building wealth. Number two, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think. Three, if this is your first time joining the group in Money Talks, go ahead and invite your friends and family. So yeah, guys, Robin is an excellent person in general in life, but for me in particular, she's a very, very good friend, and there's not too many things she doesn't really know about when it comes to entrepreneurship, and that's one of the reasons why I'm oftentimes inspired by her and all the moves she do. Well, one of them is actually she's has a trucking business, and I thought it'd be good for her to walk through some of those steps, but then also share, if you're comfortable, a little bit about, hey, what did that look like when COVID hit, those type of things. Because when you're going into these business ventures, everything, you have to realize everything has a risk. I'm not going to go back. I don't want to scare you about the risk, but that's the business. So you need to know, hey, how do you prepare yourself, or try to best prepare yourself, and then go right into it. So Robin, tell us a little bit about this section of your business, because I know there's like one of 20 or 20,000 that you have. But this particular business, Infinite Trucking. Oh, and by the way, Robin does consult for trucking. So we'll drop her information so that you're able to connect, because again, we're going to cover a lot here in a short amount of time, but there's so much to this business that you need to know. So we'll do the best we can. But yeah, Robin, tell us a little bit about how you, Infinite Trucking, what kind of trucks, kind of start your story, that whole thing.
Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Robin Taylor, and I am a serial entrepreneur. Um, Infinite Trucking is one of my businesses. Infinite Trucking is one of the only businesses that I don't have a business partner on. It's solely me. I started Infinite Trucking back in August of 2018. It's when I branched out and did my own thing. So, what made me want to get into trucking is one of the things about me. If people say like this is a man's world, I want to show them that a woman can do it. So that was like one of my things that I had to, um, I'm sorry, have a kid.
We got
that
kids
I,
on the cast, y'all.
yes, that was one of the things um, that made me want to get into trucking, because everyone's like, oh, it's man's field, it's a man's field. But then the way that the world was turning, so I watch all markets. I watch pretty much every industry, and the way that the things are turning in life now, everything is going to online. Everyone wants things just to be sent to their home. So how does things get to place A to B? Transportation industry, either by plane, train, or trucks. So I know that there's going to be a huge demand in the future for trucking. And I feel like a lot of people had within the last year have caught on to like that wave. Now everybody wants to be in trucking. Um, but that's one of the things, trucks are needed. Trucks are one of those things that, is going to be a needed industry. Now, from my experience with trucking, I didn't have a mentor really. I had to find my way. So the first 6 months, I made a lot of mistakes. And that's what made me start my trucking boot camp, basically. But I do one-on-one training because everybody trucking, everybody the direction that they want to take, and everybody where they stand in trucking is completely different. Some people, I got $50,000, I just want to buy a truck. Then you have some people, I know I want to go after this contract and I want to have this type of truck. Then some people, everybody thinks about dump trucks and 18 wheelers when it's so much more to trucking than that. That everybody wants to jump on this Amazon train lately. So I like to do one-on-one training with people because I like to customize things for you. The biggest thing is making sure that you're doing everything that's needed for DOT, and to make sure that your company is safe, your drivers are safe, and that you're making money. Um,
And what is DOT?
DOT is the Department of Transportation. So you have Missouri Department of Transportation, and then you have the FMSCA, which is the Federal Motor Carriers. So that's like your federal DOT, basically. So there's things that you have to do for the state level, and then there's things that you have to do for the federal level. Um, so when I take on people one on one, the first thing we talk about is what type of trucks do you want. There's different type of trucking. You can do sprinter vans. You can do a lot of sprinter vans. The biggest thing in sprinter vans that I tell people to get in, or that I help people get in, is the medical field. But then you have hot shots, what you call hot shots. Some people are like, well, what are hot shots? Hot shots are your F-350s, and that's when you can haul different things, but basically in a bed of F-50 is like a big old tool that hooks up to it, and you're trailing something. Um, Another thing is box trucks. So the best contracts for box trucks, in my opinion, are going to be like your appliances, like Home Depot. That it has a lot of risk, but the reward is greater, especially when you have great employees. A lot of people was getting in it to do furniture for like Value City Furniture, Ashley Furniture, Weekends Only, things like places like that. Um, and then a lot of people was doing box trucks, the 26-foot box trucks that still require CDL license. It'll be a Class B license, but still require CDL license. Um, they were doing Amazon. They were doing an overnight Amazon. I did that with business partners. Um, it was okay. I went back, and that's when I had a partnership. I went back and had Infinite Trucking, which was still my semis. My semis is what, have been surviving even through COVID. My semis is what have been surviving. The hardest thing about owning semis is drivers. Um, Drivers are just like the biggest thing. Everybody wants to get in the trucking industry, so you don't have as many drivers now, unfortunately. And then another thing about drivers is they're lazy. Everybody want to be at home um, every night or every weekend, and that's kind of hard depending on which contract you have and how you run your trucks.
So, when you think about trying to get into this industry, because it is a lot of opportunity. I mean, me and you've had conversations at length.
Mhm.
What do you think for somebody that, hey, I don't even have trucking in my family. This not even in my blood. What do you think is
Mhm.
the approach to take it to? I know, personally speaking, I was more looking at, hey, what's the risk? I was looking at it from a cash flow perspective, just like people get into real estate. It's about the cash flow. So I'm like, okay, what is a good way to get into this business? What truck? Because there are many different ways you can go. And what would you say is, if I was gonna go into this, what would be a good starting area?
So honestly, it's about what do you have in liquid assets. What if an incident was to happen today or tomorrow? What can you afford to have? Because when you send those trucks to the shop, you spending like $2 or $3,000. What kind of truck can you afford to get coming out? Because if you're getting a used truck, then guess what? In 100,000 miles, you're going to put 100,000 miles on your truck probably every quarter. So 100,000 miles, what maintenance can you afford? And that's something that you have to look at as well too, because what's needed for a box truck and the repairs that's needed for a box truck versus an F-350 may be totally different. And then not only in trucking, there's a way to be a trucking and not have own any trucks. It's called being a broker. So you have to ask yourself, what can I personally afford? Me, I went out to sell my trucks and I had a $10,000 slush fund for starting off. But let me tell you, throughout that first 4 months, I went through that $10,000 as well too. Unfortunately, when you first start off, especially if you're trying to start your own authority, and an authority means you have your own MC number and your own DOT number. That means you operate for yourself. A lot of times, there's people that buy trucks and they lease on to other people's authority. Like, for example, I have one truck that is starting to this lady, she's going to be leased onto my authority starting next month. Um, I operate her trucks, I pay her drivers, I do everything, and I get a percentage of her load, but she gets everything else after that. The only thing she do every week is get a breakdown of expenses, and she get her money, and that's how it works sometimes. So some people like really just you got people, I really want to be in the trucking industry, I really want to learn, and then you have those, I just want to get some extra money, whatever come with it. So I mean, you have to ask yourself what's for you. Starting off, if you don't have a good paying contract starting off, sometimes it's best to lease on to somebody else's authority, because then you'll get better rates. A new authority, they're not trying to pay you they're not trying to pay you top rate. They're going to give you the bottom of the barrel rate. A lot of people won't even let you run under, a carrier won't even let you run under them until you have at least 6 months or 90 days of experience. Even then, the more experience you have, is the more the top rates you'll be able to compete for. When I first started off, I was running $1.70 a rate, and there was nothing. There was me barely breaking even. Now, in the months of January through March, April, the rates are low because that's the after season rush. But what I'm doing right now, I still been averaging at a minimum about $3 a mile.
Mhm.
But that's because, like I said, I built a relationship. I had to make a lot of sacrifices. Um, I personally reached out to certain people to build a contract with them. Um, but yeah, those are the sacrifices I made. Like, that's the thing with trucking, you have to make connections with people. You can't just depend on a load board. You can't just depend on something like an Amazon contract, because Amazon is going to be good from September to December. But what
Right.
about January
Seasonal.
through April, when it's
Mhm.
not that good? Then it may kick up a prime. And then something happened to your truck, but you just spent this money thinking that, oh, this trucking industry is so good, or you done went out and bought another truck, and now you don't even have a driver for it. Because your driver can make or break your company. And when I say that, a driver, if they're not taking care of their truck, if they're not taking care of their truck, then they can mess up your truck. I had a driver that I recently fired back in April. He caused me $8,000 worth of damages to my truck. When I say damages, I'm not talking about accidents. It was just not properly taking care of the truck. It was not. There's this thing that you're supposed to do called a pre-trip and a post-trip.
Right.
These are the things that your driver should look for. And as the owner of your trucking company, there's things that you should be making sure that your drivers are doing. There's
Right.
reports that you need to be making sure that your drivers turn into you. There's maintenance on your trucks that you should be making sure that it's done as well too. But when
Mhm.
you're leased onto somebody else's authority as well, sometimes they'll do that for you. Like, I do that for my people that's leased onto my authority, but I also have a higher split rate than some people as well too. But I'm literally taking care of all of your things, and all the liability is on my company.
Oh,
Um, so, like I said, I had a driver that cost me $8,000 of damages. Um, I don't know. I'm looking on the outside of the truck. The truck looked good. Drive the truck down the street. The truck wouldn't even go over 20 miles per hour at one point. So it's just, and it was just negligence on his part. Um, the truck had an oil leak. He wasn't telling me about that. The truck, there's things called airbags in the truck that lifts up the trailer and everything. He didn't tell me about that. So the truck was like literally dragging in the back. But it was all type of damages. But it cost me, and it cost me because we were in a pandemic, and this is where I'll say I was at fault at. We were in a pandemic. um we got a contract through a government affiliate, and I was trying to hurry up and get things out for the pandemic at the time. And so normally, what I would be like, okay, let me check and make sure this is done, this is done, this is done. I had this driver for 2 years, so I was trusting him, and it wasn't done. And the signs were there. It was just like, okay, well, the pressure's on us right now. A good contract just came through. The good contract came through, but at the same time, now I lost some money. I lost $8,000 that I could have kept in my own pocket.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
like the
it's
risk.
definitely expensive. I think with that's the same. That's what I was saying about the business. You can't just jump um, to that pool because again, when I was researching, I was starting to figure out how much these repairs were running. I'm like, man, and then because if you just use logical sense, well, these trucks are running all times of the night. Like the repair is going to come up a lot quicker. Yeah, you
Hmm.
hope the money is bringing in supports what you have to spend on it. But the idea is if you're just getting started and you're running this thing, what is what's going to be the burn rate? What are you putting yourself into? And if, like you
Yeah.
said, if you only got 10 grand and that's for your own house, and you trying to go out and you're trying to hinge your hopes of, well, I got a contract. Maybe you did get a contract, but and then you start the business, but before you can even get to the first pay of this business, you can't even fulfill the contract. You got to out probably your emergency fund plus some. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just for the truck, because I mean, a lot of people, they don't. Not everybody can go out starting this thing, and even people who are in the business, when I spoke to them, they don't start off buying these $100,000-$200,000 truck. They
They go
buy
buy
really
$20,000
old,
trucks.
yeah,
Right.
and they
So
buy really old.
my thing is, when people ask me about trucks, I tell them never buy a truck that's older than 5 years. Never buy a truck that's over than more than 500,000 miles. Let me tell you, one of my trucks, I came out of a lot of money for, had nothing to do with driver. I have one amazing driver. When I say, I'm gonna be really sad when this man tell me that it's time for him to retire. He's a but it's like something he's been doing for years, so I would understand. But at the same time, I have an amazing driver. Nothing was wrong with him at all. Um, the truck that I bought was from a fleet. And I tell people you want to normally buy from a fleet because then they have maintenance reports and everything, and they typically keep up on their maintenance because it's a fleet owned. But the things that they did, they basically did patchwork on the truck. And like you can go to it, you can take your truck to a shop and they'd be like, oh, well, we can patch it up and it's only gonna hold over for a couple months. They'll tell you that. But instead of getting, but I don't do that because in a couple months, well, I just paid for $1,000. I'd rather pay 3,000 and then not keep paying $1,000 every couple months. And I know I'm gonna have to end up paying the 3,000 later on anyway. So sorry, I do need to get a stand. But anywho, so we bought this truck in November of 2018. This was my second truck. We bought it in November of 2018. By I want to say February, I spent about $4,000 in repairing the truck, and it was because things were patched up. It was patched up so good that a diesel, like there's things that I tell people to look for when you are purchasing a truck, but it was things that the diesel mechanic wouldn't even have noticed just by looking at the truck. You almost need a full diagnostics of your truck. So anything that you do, any business that you do, it's best to always get like some type of classes or lessons. I still continue lessons on trucking. I still continue lessons on anything that I run or I'm invested in, simply because you can never not invest in yourself enough. You're always a student in your business. You're a forever student learning whatever comes in. The industry's going to change, things are going to change. You always have to be a student, but at the same time, that's why I also offer one-on-one classes as well too. Because like I said, where you may have started your trucking company 6 months ago, so it's not fair for you to start a boot camp with me versus somebody that don't even know what kind of truck to even buy, don't even know the difference between a single axle truck and a tandem.
Right.
So that's why everything is done a little differently. Hold on, let me prop this up. Okay, so that's why
So
everything is done a little differently based off the person. And as I say, people, you have to invest in yourself. I wish somebody would have told me, hey, for $300, I train you everything on the truck. I would have gladly gave that 300 because
right,
it probably would have saved me 3,000 later on in the
yeah,
end.
the opportunity cost. So which comes first, the registration, the contract, or the truck?
So the first thing is deciding what type of truck you want to get. When I say what type of what type of industry are you trying to get in? Are you trying to get into yeah, what type of truck? Are you trying to do dump trucks? Are you trying to do semis? Are you trying to do like what are you trying to do? That's the first thing. And then from there is looking at different contracts. You don't want to buy a truck and now you're just sitting on a truck for 4 months. So
Mhm.
what are the possible contracts? Who can you network with to see what they have available? And when people say, I have a whole bunch of people that come to me and say, well, my friend said they make $5,000 or $6,000 off of trucks. A couple 5 6 months later, that friend ain't even in business no more. So, like I tell that person, I said, if your friend tell you they make $5,000 $6,000 a week off of a truck, ask them what their expenses are.
Right,
That's one thing. Ask them what their expenses are. Ask them, can you shadow them to
right,
see? Because off of one truck is not going to make you no big money. That's just the reality of it. You need at least two.
right.
One truck is not gonna bring in all of this money. It's just not. Um, so people say that, but then fuel for me, um, fuel for me runs for one truck run about $1,700 a week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. Driver pay, if a fuel is running me $1,700 a week, driver pay is at least 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go, right there. Plus, then you gotta talk about insurance. How much are you taking out for insurance? One truck for insurance for me is $1,200 a month. So how much each week am I taking out for insurance? How much am I putting into emergency slush fund for expenses?
Repairs that will come up.
Yep. And then there's things that you have to file quarterly. How much am I putting for my IFTA taxes?
Yeah.
Those are things that you have to file every quarter. Yearly, there's things that you have to file that's going to cost you $3,000 or $4,000. So how much are you putting? How much are you paying your ELD? ELD is a system that's mandated, especially for semis. It's a system that's mandated to do. It keeps track of your driver's hours. Operation. A driver can only operate 14 hours a day and must take a 10-hour break, and then have to do a reset. So those are some of the things that you have to talk about your expenses. How are you monitoring your expenses? What are you saving for yourself for taxes? Because guess what, Uncle Sam still needs to collect his money every year. So what are you saving
He
for
don't care
yourself for
about
taxes?
the pandemic.
Look. But yeah, so those are the things that you really have to. Then, what are you using? What type of payroll service are you using for your trucks? How are you paying your employees? Like what kind of accounting services are you using? Any business with a bad accounting is going to fall eventually. And that your accounting is going to be one of the main reasons why you fall.
Okay.
So no, that's why I said when people tell me, oh, my friend said I can make X amount of Z. Okay, ask your friend to see and let's see where your friend is at after all these expenses. Maintenance, just regular preventative maintenance. One tire on a truck, a new tire, one tire is going to cost you $700. A oil change, what we consider like our quarterly oil change, that's about $500 $600 for a PM. Not to mention anything that they may find. You have to have an annual safety inspection on your truck. Your driver, there's things that you need to do random for your job. You need to cause random drug tests for your drivers. How much are you paying for things like that? So those are some of the things.
So with all that, and yeah, you're right, with the compliance and the operation, the tactical stuff, how do you keep track? I mean, you like you said, you're a serial entrepreneur. You're running this thing. So how do you keep track? Are you using Excel? Is there a platform that you're using that
I'm so old school.
Okay.
When I say I'm so old school,
you
I'm so old school.
What
I use Excel for almost everything. But that's because I also have a financial background.
Okay.
I have a bachelor's in accounting and international business, a master's in finance and entrepreneurship. So I have that financial background. So of course, everything with me would be Excel. It's easy. I can manipulate formulas, do what I need to do, pull things in. But so basically, what I do, I designate certain days. I have three main businesses that I run: real estate, trucking, and my commercial properties and my banquet hall. Well, the commercial property normally fall under my real estate duties. But so I make time each day for certain things. I designate times. Um, but then I put it on my calendar on days that certain things must be done by. I have to make a daily to-do list or my life will not be organized. I have to have a planner that I write in. These phones are nice, but I need something that I can write and see so I can see how busy my day is going to be. I can't just click and be like, oh, well, let me click on this day. No, I need to physically see, like, girl, look, you can't take on nothing else right now. So, and there's been times where I told people, like, I literally told a lot of people that got all of that illegal, legal, whatever y'all want to call that money. Y'all was playing with Uncle Sam.
Right.
But there was a lot of times where I told people like I'm literally not taking on any um trucking clients anymore new until the middle of January.
Right.
And so now that we're in February, I'm like, okay, there's a couple more people I'll take, but at the same time, I'm expecting another child soon. So I'm like, I only have enough room for these many slots, and once this many slots is gone, is that like sometimes you have to turn down money and be okay with it. But that's the biggest thing is trying to keep everything organized. I normally keep things lighter in the beginning of the year because I'm trying to close out all of my books and my other businesses as well.
So it sounds like, to be honest, the contract is really the go-to, even if you don't know. So if I don't know what I'm doing, yeah, I can go shadow people. I can go look at a couple different businesses because somebody will always be willing for you to come watch their business. That's what entrepreneurs love. They love to show you their business, show what you're doing, and so you can see kind of what the day to day is. But if I'm somebody that doesn't really have a relationship to either one, then you have a little bit more of an option of, okay, well, I know I need to build relationships with, well, let me try a couple different avenues on this thing and figure out, okay, will I be able to do a dump truck or will I be able to do a semi or maybe I can do a flatbed? Which one am I able to get a feasible contract for? And that'll pretty much tell you, okay, I can get the contract for this. Yeah, I might have a desire to go to other places. Just because you start in one doesn't mean you can't grow to the other one. But
Exactly.
it sounds like
because my boyfriend recently brought up something, and I was like, I said, I know you lying to me. He said, you know what we should start calling? I said, well, he saw some cows. I said, cows.
I gotta move, man.
I said, what's the liability on cows?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? But it's just something like you said, like it's other avenues. But then he has a lot of friends that are in the field. I mean, like the farming
like
industry.
the farm, that type of
yeah.
And they're honestly, I even read about that, like the eggs, chickens, you know what I mean, all those different things. It is very, very lucrative. Like you don't really think about it as, hey, this got to be hauled too. So the thing about the transportation thing industry that I picked up, or that I would tell people, if you're in it or you're trying to figure out, hey, I'm gonna scale. Well, first, it's really about how strong is your foundation. Like Robin just kind of laid out, she laid out about 15 different compliance things you have to pay attention to: licenses, random drug tests,
random DOT inspection.
Random DOT inspection.
That's the biggest thing that'll shut your company down.
Side of the road.
Yes.
It's so many different things. And then you got fuel, you got taxes, you got insurance, you got all these different expenses. Well, you can't depend on your memory when it's that many. And that's the thing that will oftentimes scare people to make the barrier to entry into a business, is because of all these dates you got to pick up with. So Robin's right. Even myself, I got a business coach. Having someone, if you've never been in the industry, getting with someone who has a plan that you trust, that's going to help. But the whole point of it is so that you have a structure so that you understand, number one, the first truck is to get me in. The second one is probably where I'm going to start to see the money that I'm trying to get after. And that's with this business, because there's so much that you have to do to get it going. But the contract piece seems to be
that's key. Because how's your money coming in?
What have you found? I mean, I know you said networking. So are you on Craigslist? Are you on?
Do you know that at one point I was? So I'm a little crazy, but do you know at one point I was like literally calling these companies like, "Hey, I am."
Calling the actual company.
I am in procurement, or I worked in procurement in this company, and wanted to know, like, it's just you have to do what you have to do. Yeah.
Okay. And so you was doing straight cold call, dial, pick up a phone book, or if you go into a Lowe's, or if you go into a Ashley Furniture.
No, you can't. Like, you can't even go into places like that. You literally, because they're not gonna know. So I would literally call people that were in the supply chain. If I would look on LinkedIn and find people that was in supply chain and work out with them. But then also, the thing is, a lot of people want trucks that they want people that have multiple fleets. So guess what I did? I subcontracted out some of my things. If I was working, I'm just gonna use Pepsi for example. When I did something with Pepsi for a short time, when I was working with Pepsi, it's like, okay, we have this many loads. You need this many trucks. So I didn't call my friends that are in trucking like, hey, guess what? I need some of y'all trucks. This is what we're paying. This how, this is where the load's going. This is this. So you have to be able to work with other people as well too, in order to grow. I have someone who recently reached out to me because he needs the minority female. He needs that aspect, and then he needs somebody that's been in business. So he recently reached out to me, and I believe in praying and fasting about certain opportunities before they come. So I'm waiting on God to give me the answer to this. And he's like, hey, There's something that I need you in, and we're gonna both benefit off of it. It's thousands a week because basically the reason it's thousands a week is because we're running other people's trucks. So when those trucks break down, guess what? It's not coming out of our pockets. It's coming out of somebody else's pockets. So it's an opportunity. So I'm just praying on it and waiting. But that's another avenue too. So once you get into the trucking industry, if you don't want, I mean, if you're not the person that wants to own the trucks yourself, you can have other trucks working under you, and you can be the one to go out the contracts, and you're still like a broker yourself.
Okay. So more broker dispatcher type thing.
Yeah, and I'm my own dispatcher as well too. So I take a day where I plan my loads out. Like the contract I have right now, I have a day where I talk to the planner. We plan our loads out. I talk to my driver. Keep your drivers happy, and they'll keep you happy. So I asked my driver, I'm like, what is it that you want to do? Where is it that you want to go? Because I don't want my driver in snow right now. On the East Coast, they got 12 inches of snow. I'm not trying to deal with that. My driver not trying to deal with that neither. So I asked my driver, where do you want to go? How long do you want to be out? If I have a driver to tell me he want to be at home every night, that's not the driver for me. If I have a driver to tell me they want to be home every other weekend, that's the person I can work with more so than every weekend because it may not flow like that. It's just the reality of it. So, but yeah, so that's probably where I stand with it. When I say your driver, be good to your driver. And then, like I said, I like to plan out my stuff in advance because I am a busy person. I don't have time every day to look up a load and plan out loads. I'm only
contracts, are they negotiable? How do you know what's
everything in life is negotiable?
Paying for a driver?
So you should know your bottom line expense. Um you should know how much you should be able to Google how much rates per I mean how much mileage you'll get off of 1 gallon of gas. You should be able to Google that. You should be able to, especially if you buy a used truck, then you should ask them for their fuel expense on their truck. You should know how much you're paying your driver a mile. So then now you know how much you need to survive as well too. Like what do you need to bring home from this? So I know that I won't accept anything under $2 a mile. Only way I will is if I accepted something that was $4 a mile to get there and accepting something that's 180 to get out. That's the only way. But if I have that balance. If not, I'm not accepting it. Everything is negotiable, like I said, especially with contracts. If you say, hey, if you go into a company and ask them for a contract directly through them and you're not working with another broker or any type of carrier, then you say, hey, this is my safety score, and that's the biggest thing. Your safety scores. How many times DOT didn't have to pull you over? How many DOT inspections have you passed or failed? Like, hey, this is what I know I bring to the table. I've been in business this long. This is the type of drivers I have. This is their motor vehicle report. I know that I'm capable of offering you X, Y, and Z. You always let in any deal I make, I don't care what type of business it is, I'll never I'll never make the first offer. Never. I'm like, oh, so what are you willing to pay? That's with anything. I never make the first offer. Of course, the only time I make the first offer is on like something like real estate, but still, even then, it's already offer price listed.
Right.
But I always negotiate. That's everything. You never just settle. Only thing they can do is tell you no, and you have to know going in, is this even worth my time? If I know that this is the going rate, should I even invest in it? Should I even take this chance? Because what happens if they say you no? And then you have drivers bidding on routes all the time as well too. Someone recently reached out to me for a Family Dollar contract. I was not interested at all. Not with those rates. So
man, so much. If you guys enjoyed it so far, leave a comment below. Send it a question. We kind of run through. Hey, you probably want to look for your contract first. You want to figure out what kind of truck you want. Understand that there's so many different contracts that you can actually get, or different trucks that you can actually get in this industry. Understand what's your risk, what's your actual bottom line expenses. So your taxes, your insurance, your fuel, like all the way detailed. Don't say, oh, it might be $700 or $1,200 a week. You need to know, hey, how many miles do I get to the gallon? what is fuel running at. Like, this is how you operate your business, because you don't have time to. It's not like personal finance. Personal finance, you can say, oh, I might spend about $120 a month. This is a business. You need every cost dialed in tight. So you need to know specifically, okay, the trip should take 7-8 hours, this many miles. My driver took 9-10 hours. There was nothing issue. What can we do about that? What was the difference? Why did it take so long? What's going on? The pre and post check. That's good in every scenario where you have an asset that's working for you. So that's part of, honestly, your leadership in this business. But that's how you're going to know if something's off, because through your pre and post checks. Now, I know you can obviously do that electronic, but you'll be able to start to see different trends. So even if a person's not telling you and they're doing their pre and post checks correctly, because that's a trust thing. And are you checking in? It's not just, oh, I got Johnny, he's my driver. Oh, he seemed nice. Seems like he working. Yeah, leadership, you have to inspect what you expect. So you can't just let a person go down for a year. Otherwise, you might come up with a $25,000 repair in the middle of the night and you don't know what happened. And the reason why it might happen that way is because you know inflation, prices go up. Well, when you're in the trucking business and somebody's on that road and you're doing a load and you have to get to the destination and you got to get this person home, and then there's a repair that has to happen. Well, there's a trucking inflation that whoever's there, they're going to charge you whatever. And you can't just let the truck sit, because most of the time, the cost to get it all the way back to you and then try to get a repair it's going to make a bad problem worse.
Anytime a tow truck hook up to your truck, the minimum is $500 for them hooking up to your truck in most states. So if a tow truck hook up to your truck, that's costing you $500, because you can't use little bill tow truck down the street. You have to make sure that they can carry your truck, and then most of the time, what they do is they'll carry your truck and then come back and get your trailer.
That's too much, and that's just that's not even going to the repair. Like you really have to dial this stuff in. So how do you know if you're overcompensating your driver? Because you're right, you want to take care of the person.
That's the thing. Oh my goodness, I'm glad you asked that. Sorry, my belly is in the way. But that is the biggest thing. I see new drivers. We're paying 70 cents a mile. How in the hell do you know if you can afford 70 cents a mile? You don't even know, like, you don't, first of all, you should base it off experience. Second, you don't even know what your truck is going to make. Like, you can't do that without knowing what type of contracts you're going to have. You just can't. Like, you need to really talk to somebody and ask them, what should my starting pay be? I started my drivers off, and I do say, if you have somewhat of experience, don't start anybody off with experience lower than 50 cents a mile. But there's some things that you can do called a bonus. Like, you can if you know that you had this high rate and got these good employees, give them a bonus. Don't tell them that. And I wasn't in the position. Sometimes I get my one driver bonus, but I wasn't in a position to do so because rates were kind of low at one point as well too when we first started. But give them a bonus. You don't tell them that they're going to make all of this money or guarantee $1,600 a week when they only ran 500 miles. So now you're lying to them. And then it's like drivers get angry. Drivers will abandon your truck in the middle of nowhere. I've seen it happen to other people. So these are the things that you have to deal with. You can't really, once again, until you do that math, you can tell your drivers what they'll make. And then you do the math, and what happens if you have to pull out of one contract and go to another one, and it's not paying as much. Now you're just making money just to run a trucking company. Right. Or you may be negative.
So one question that came in the comments, when you first started your business, how did you get in front of the larger companies to be able to offer your services? Was that you was calling them?
So remember I said that when I first started, I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I used to load board. I I made a lot of mistakes. But when I got to the point where I didn't make those mistakes again, is when I started just having conversations with different people in supply chain in different places. I would have my driver to go into certain places and ask who is their supply chain or who is their logistics specialist, who is over that. I would go from there and then make calls like, hey, I'm such and such, been in business, tell them my experience, tell them what I know they're looking for, show them my on time delivery reports with other carriers and everything, make me a portfolio for references with other carriers. And yeah, that's how I got some of my contracts.
And what you're talking about, like I hate to say this, in any business you're doing, there's a sales component. And if you're not doing it, you have to get somebody to do it that's doing it well. But when in the trucking business, yeah, it's definitely different. But the sales component is you have to go after it for yourself. So if you're like, hey, I'm really trying to grow, or maybe you've been running a couple trucks, but you're really trying to scale up, but you're like, hey, I'm not seeing the business. Well, in every business component or in every business that you're in, there has to be a attrition factor. What are you doing to capture new business? And that has to be something perpetual, because like Robin kind of discussed, you never know when a contract's going to fall through. You never know, maybe rates change, or maybe somebody may not be able to offer something. So it's important that you have a ready-made kind of Rolodex where you have so much business coming at you that you can't fulfill it. So that way, you can always, number one, offer great work, keep the business operation. But when you think about your scaling, you scale based off the business. If you know you have the business already there and I just can't meet my demand right now, well, it gives you a whole lot more confidence and just logic that, hey, I got 4 or 5 contracts that I'm turning down constantly, all because I don't have another truck. It's time for me to go ahead and get another truck and get this thing rolling. So that's how you do it. But yeah, if you looking at these sites, and I've been on those job boards, yeah, it's tough. It's like, I mean, honestly, it's like submitting a resume to a job. You hope it's coming in.
And you almost,
or
I'm glad
anybody
you said that. You need to have a trucking resume. You
yeah,
need to. Any business that you're in, you need to have a resume for that business, because you never know what opportunities are going to present itself. You need to have your
exactly.
financials always ready at the click of a button. At the click of a button, you need to have your financials ready. And somebody gonna ask you, well, okay, well, let me see your safety reports. Do you have those ready that you can just press up here? Here we go. Seeing. Let me see your maintenance reports. Do you have those together? Like, what do you have together for anybody that may ask a question at the drop of a dime? So if that paperwork is not in order, then you have to ask yourself, do I really want to be a truck company owner, or do I just want to own trucks and lease on to somebody else and let them do all the hard work for me?
Yeah, that's fair.
And because entrepreneurship is not for everybody. That's why
Right,
we have this thing called investors. A lot of
right,
investors are not entrepreneurs, and that's the crazy thing that people don't
right. They
understand.
good at making money.
They
And
are, but they're
yeah,
not. Like,
yeah,
yes, this, like, I'm my money just make money, make money for me. I really don't own no true business. I just got solid partnerships and stuff, because I'm also an investor as well too. Um I bought into a club. I bought into other things that I don't know nothing about and don't plan to ever learn anything about.
right.
But at the same time,
But I know it
um,
makes some money.
I know I get my return on my investment.
Right.
So I bought into a store, like I bought into things, and it's just like I never plan on ever learning anything about the industry because I don't want to.
Right.
I just know that you show me your books, you show me your financials. I know my investment is I get my reports that I'm supposed to have, and I get my money. And that's the same thing with trucking. You're an investor. You gave me your product. I'm selling it for you. Now here's your return on your investment.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's a great opportunity, but like Robert said, you can contract the dispatch, the broker route. You can subcontract. There are a lot of different ways. You don't have to say, "Oh, I got to get a truck. I got to get a driver. I got to get a contract." Based on how you want to live your life and what you want to do. Don't get me wrong. There is a time commitment in any business venture that you're about to start up. It's going to be a time commitment, but you have to understand, hey, what am I trying to take on in this? And maybe going into it, you're like, hey, I'm really passionate about this, but Are you honest with yourself to say, hey, I'm not very organized. I'm not into the details. That stuff, honestly, even watching this video kind of made me a little sleepy. So I know doing the actual books is gonna make you see. Well, understand you need to add into your budget. Hey, I'm gonna pay somebody to help me set this thing up. But I'm probably gonna pay for somebody to operate this thing for me, just so I don't have to do it. And that comes off your bottom line. So whether that takes off your salary or whether that means you have to go lower rates or whatever, understand that's how this goes. Everybody can't manage every different piece. Everybody, like Robert said, is not an entrepreneur, or even if you're not an entrepreneur, you may not just have that skill set. Like personally speaking, I suck at operation. I'm good enough to not have bleeding, and that's how I do all my roles. My wife is extremely good at operation. She's the very detailed person. So I can see the opportunity, I can see the growth, but when it comes to some paperwork being in order, some detailed notes, having a good post, that's where that person has it. And if you're doing this by yourself, or if you're doing this by a partner, you need to leverage your strengths and then be like, okay, the stuff we can't do, or I know we just don't want to do, gotta outsource that. So you talked about the getting the DOT, getting your authority, or maybe you go under somebody else's authority, getting a business coach, looking for a contract, how to even approach different people for a contract. Granted, it sounds really basic, but to be quite honest, if you can think in your head, like Robin was saying, that, hey, I need Lowe's, they have to move their hardware, or the grocery store has to move their produce, or whoever, wherever you at, they have to have, everybody has to have a business section, and depending on what type of product they have or service, or if they have a product, they have to move it some way. And if it's not something that you can see, oh man, let's take a little truck. Maybe it's cars, maybe it's, I don't know. It's something, but it has to be moved. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, who do I need to speak to? Now, Robin kind of gave you the juice on that one. So who's in supply chain? Who's your logistics specialist? Those are things, that's what you want to go after and try to make connections. But the whole thing is about, can you get in front of somebody, not be on the computer screen, because everybody's there. So you have to be like, okay, can I get in there? Do I have my stuff in order? Is my books, do I have all the things that they're looking for, the safety, inspection, all that type of stuff? But then can you get in front of them, and can you help translate your value to that person in about a minute, so you're not taking up too much of their time, and get out and do that repetitively? You'll get a lot of no's, but it doesn't really matter if you talk to 100 people and got 3 yeses. I mean, if you only got one truck, you can only do so much anyway. But that's what go ahead.
But even with your no, you still need to be asking people why.
Right.
Well, why did I not qualify for this contract?
Exactly.
And then if you know that you're not ready, like if you know that you don't have everything in order, and everything that you do is an investment, and it's also a tax write-off. It's an expense. If you pay somebody to run your trucks for you, that's an expense. If you pay somebody to do the research, to teach you trucking before you even start trucking, buy a truck, anything, that's an expense. You need to make sure that you're keeping everything that, your investments are also your tax write-offs in the end. So the money that you make, it's less money you're being taxed on, because now you have these investments as well too. These not investments, these expenses.
Right.
So you have to,
and just to toss in there, just like last week we had my good friend millionaire that he was talking about real estate, where, hey, you talk about the depreciation of your house. That's one of the expenses that help make rent cheap, or you're essentially not paying for the house. Well, in this business, the truck is what you would depreciate as part of that, and that helps your tax scenario. But go ahead, just wanted to toss that in.
No, you made a lot of great points. Like I said, because I heard all these people say, "Oh, I went to this boot camp and I didn't even really learn much." Like you got to be careful of just signing up with anything and anybody. And so I said I like one-on-one better. I like doing one-on-one with clients instead of just like a general boot camp. But you got to be careful, because the little bare minimum that some of these people get just to get your money, it's not enough. Like you need somebody that's in detail, that's going to be like, this is where I am, this is where I'm trying to go. And what does your program offer to help me get to A and Z? Or how many times am I be paying this $300 to get to the A and Z? Is it a phase of this? Like, you really want to know because you don't want people to just lead you in the wrong direction. Have I paid for things that I didn't benefit from? Yeah, I did.
Cost of business.
But that's just the risk that you take
Yeah.
as well too. And so
What
yeah,
is
go ahead.
what would you say is so we talked about a lot, but on your consultation, oh, I'm sorry, before I get to there, what would you say is ideally, if this is your first truck that you want to look for time frame wise of generating some type of net profit?
After the first 2 quarters.
Okay, so
And it
6 months.
all depends on when you start. If you start in August or something like I did, you're going to make more money because now you're going into the holiday season. I tell people if you start at the beginning of the year, wait to put your truck on the road to like April. Depending on what type of truck you have, what type of industry. If you got 18 wheeler or a box truck, just wait. It's about April, May to just start off because then your rates will be a lot higher.
Is there a certain time with that season being like that for the volume? Is there a certain time where there are better deals for buying trucks?
No, and honestly, trucks are selling a lot higher than they used to because everybody wants a truck now.
Yeah.
So they're selling trash bullshit for like $40,000. So it's not worth it.
So about the consultation, like I said, I know Robin is busy, so I appreciate and want to be respectful of her time. She says she has a couple of spots, so they probably won't last long.
I have 10 spaces still available.
Okay, 10 spaces. If you want an opportunity to meet with Robin and trying to get your business off the ground, what goes on in this one-on-one coaching areas?
So the first thing is we figure out which type of trucking. I mean, what do you want to do in the trucking industry? That's the first thing. From there, we talk about what is needed to start. So we'll talk about trucks. You'll tell me. I'll send you a few sites. I'll start looking for a truck with you. I'll send you a few sites. Then we'll talk about what you should review before you even buy that truck. We'll find a mechanic as well together. Then we'll start talking about contracts because anybody can tell you how to start a trucking contract, a trucking company, but can they tell you how to make money? And so we'll look into like which option is best. Should you start off with a lease and then do your own authority, or should you start off with your own authority? We'll talk about what's best. The next thing, we'll go over all of the compliance things. We'll make sure that your company has customized documents that fits your company for all of your employees. Then we'll talk about employee screenings. I'll interview employees with you and everything. I'll tell you like this was what you should look for. I do normally the first interview with you just to say like, no, that's not a good person and this is why. And then you can conduct interviews from there. Or you can conduct interviews and be like, this is the person I think. And from there, I'll go on with it. And this is the overall boot camp. So it's not, like I said, the 300 is going to get you started with your trucking company. And then we'll talk about what is needed for compliance every quarter, every month, annually, all of that.
Yeah.
So
this is more like a year type service.
So the 300 gets you the first 10 weeks.
Okay.
So you have homework during the first 10 weeks. After that, then
you can go to like an as needed basis or a la carte.
Yeah, it's an ad. Yep.
Okay.
I have different packages from there.
So good. Helping you out. Well, Robin, I definitely appreciate, like I said, your time and sharing some of that knowledge. What would you say, or how would you encourage people that are in the industry and maybe they're trying to grow, or maybe their spouses in the industry? What are things that you would encourage them with as we go? But before you do that, I appreciate you guys. If you stayed on this long, please go ahead and like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go ahead, if you're in Facebook, invite your friends to the group. We definitely have one more to come. And honestly, this is one of Robin's business. So she's been gracious to, on part 2, we're going to talk real estate. So we're going to switch gears on that. But like, subscribe, invite your friends to the group, because the thing about the whole thing about building wealth is what I'm trying to do is try to put more things in front of your face that you may not think about. And that way, if you have an opportunity to, if you're looking for opportunity, how you're going to grow your wealth, and you just can't generate what's a good opportunity, you can learn a little bit more about it. That's the whole point of Money Talk. If I can put enough things in front of your face that you're not normally thinking about, then it'll start to generate. Know what you don't know. So that's why I want you to invite people to the group, because the more we can just flood these people with the information, it'll eventually make sense to you. So yeah, like, subscribe if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, and if you're on YouTube, we're going to drop Robin's information if you want to connect to try to get one of those 10 remaining spots. That's awesome. Again, it's a 10-week, I would call it a course, but she calls it a consultation. But if you got homework, it's more like
it's a course. It's like I call it boot camp. I call it boot camp.
It is a boot camp.
Right. The reason I call it boot camp is because you have assignments and it's a crash course. Like, you have to move. This is not for a person that is, oh, I'm just thinking. It's a person, I'm ready to move. Right. Okay, teach me now. What's my next step? I'm ready to move. I'm ready to make some moves. And even if you don't buy a truck at that time with me, you can always come back and be like, hey, this is a truck I'm thinking about. What do you think of this? I won't charge you, just to be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, go get that truck, But or hey, can you just ask, this is the driver I picked, can you make sure that this is right for me? Right. It's certain things that I'll just do because we spent that time together. So that's why I said it moves fast. So that's why I say it's a boot camp. But at the same time, it's what you make it. It's what you put into it as well too. It's what you're willing to do.
If you're making an extra $1,500 to $2,000 a month, was the $2,000 worth it? Or the $300 worth it?
Right.
and
then even after that, like, if you was like, hey, can you keep up with my stuff? How much would you charge me to keep up with my stuff, or how much would you charge me to stay with me for the first 6 months of my trucking business? That's something that we can also talk about as well too. So, but the biggest thing, if you already have a trucking business, one thing I want to tell you is find the holes of your company. Find, when I say the holes, you should have a profit and loss for every week. If you don't have that, you're already in the wrong. You should know if you're in a lot, and then you should see, what can I do to make more money? What can I do to have more of a successful company? How can I grow my company? Those are the things that you should be asking yourself.
Mm-hmm. So good. So how would you encourage beginner or somebody in there? What should they do, especially in this time? Because one thing, what I didn't even get to mention, but I do want to tackle it. I'm gonna put you on the spot. How did you navigate COVID?
I did kind of touch on that when I said, like, I wasn't paying attention to my job because everybody was throwing loads at us because they're trying to get stuff from, like, everybody's running out of toilet paper.
COVID.
Yeah, it did. Okay. Like, normally COVID is when, like, COVID fell in like the middle of March when rates are normally lower. Everybody was throwing stuff because everybody trying to get toilet paper out. We was on a toilet paper shortage. Right. Everybody was trying to get food out. Okay. People was going to the grocery store like it was the world was finna come to an end. And that the grocery store was finna shut down. So those are the things that kind of helped my business as well. Like, the rates that normally would be lower, they were like,
okay,
they were
Okay, so you got a boost. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, how would you encourage somebody that's in kind of on the teeter-totter, they're looking at this business from the outside, somebody that maybe kind of in the business, but it's not really quite going or growing like it needs to do, or just somebody who's ready to scale. They got a couple trucks and they're really trying to take it to the next level. If you can, I don't know, you might have to speak to them 3 people different.
You have to. If you're in the beginning, it's learn the industry as much as you can before you start putting your money into it. Learn the industry. Get with somebody that's going to teach you some things. You can feel if this person is knowledgeable or not. You can feel if you're really getting something from this person just by a few conversations from them. Learn the industry. The next thing is do your research. Research cost, research possible expenses. From there, even ask, like, a call. For example, I have a Peterbilt and a Freightliner. Ask them, like, hey, how much is a PM? PM is an oil change, pretty much. And then, just kind of like play with your expenses from there. There's a lot of things. This internet today is amazing. There's a lot of things on the internet. Research some of those things. A person that's already in business, like myself, say if you've been in business, I've been in business for 2.5 years. Um, so for you, once again, I said this earlier, find the holes of your company, find your weakest spots. And sometimes as a business owner, if you have to evaluate yourself as well too. And you may have to hire people to your greatest weakness.
Right.
If you know that you're not good at operations, like Jonathan said, you might need to hire an operating person, or you might need to get an intern or something.
Right.
Or you might need to outsource that. See how much
Right.
it'll be to outsource that. But a person that's been in it for a long time is, what are you looking for? What do you want to see from your company? Do you just want to have these same loads? Are you content? Are you still making enough? Like, what do you want to see? How do you plan on branching off next? And that's why these are some of the questions I'm even asking myself lately. Um, every quarter I ask myself, what is it that you want to see from any business? Where, what is it that you want to work towards? How are you going to get there? How are you going to get there? Sometimes the best thing to do is to make the final destination and work backwards in your goals.
Right.
I always do that. Yeah, I can't just say, oh, I want to own 10 McDonald's. Well, first thing I need to do is, okay, I know I want to own one. So what do I need to do from there? Like the beginning and the end, and then fill out the things that go to the middle.
So good. Begin with the end in mind. Guys, she dropping gems. I told you she's awesome. But no, it's all true. And the fact is, it's a great opportunity. Honestly, it's a great opportunity. And this is why you save. This is why you're opening, because it's not about, are you just putting into the stock market or are you putting into your 401k? You have to put enough assets around you, things making money, so that it offsets your bad decisions day to day. So the reason why people kind of stay in poverty is because they just don't have enough assets. They don't have a 401k. They don't have a business generating cash flow. They don't have real estate where they're getting rent. They don't have things like that. They just go to work, and they might have a little bit of a 401k, but they're not really saving. And then when something happens, or if something major happens, they don't have anything they can pull money from. So,
but look, I'm glad you said this 401k situation. Look how many people 401ks dropped when COVID hit.
I didn't. those people didn't know what they invested in.
And that's the thing. A lot of people have companies running their 401ks for them.
Right.
So you don't know.
Yeah, and they don't know. Even if called, like, you have to have somebody that's going to explain, hey, this is what you're invested in. This is how it works. And I mean, that's something I've been discussing with a lot of people. This is how it works. If you like that, cool, but at least you know how it works. And to be quite honest, the more you know how something works, especially in investments, the more it's going to go in. One thing I didn't mention was, a lot of times you pull debt on these trucks and things. So what would you say, if you're buying a truck at $25,000, $30,000, before we go out? And of course, I always want to address this. What would you say is the plan or best way to still grow, make a profit? But hey, if I bought this truck in January, about how long should I set a goal to have it paid off while I'm trying to do this business?
I always tell people every situation is going to be different. You have to look at your quarterly profit and loss at that point, not weekly. That's why I said everything should be done monthly, quarterly, weekly, annually. Well, weekly, annually. I mean, weekly, quarterly, annually, monthly. You know the order. But anywho, you have to look and see, like, how much do I have left over in this quarter? Can I afford to put something down? Do I still need to leave at least 5,000 in the slush fund? Those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. Every situation is going to be different, because you can only afford to make minimum payments.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So every situation is different.
Okay. Until you get yourself going. Okay. Sounds good, guys. Well, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If there's more information, if you had other questions, feel free to reach out. Robin, we go kick it for a little bit in the background. But yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like, comment. I appreciate you guys so much. It's been a definite uptick. Invite your friends and family to do it. Just think this is only February. Have so much more coming for you guys, and it's all to help you build wealth. Until next time, you guys, we'll talk.